And I want to bring in Congressman Mike Gallagher, who spent years in the Marines, now with the House Armed Services Committee, House Intelligence Committee, and House Select Committee on the Strategic Competition for U.S. and China. Fortuitous for us to have you here at this moment. You've been in that building so many times before, fought. You joined the military because of 9/11. What does this day mean to the people that work there?
Well, I think it's a solemn day, obviously. It's something that we need to recognize every year. And if nothing else, it's a reminder of two things. One, the bravery that so many Americans displayed on that day and in how we responded as a country and came together in the days and weeks after 9/11, as well as an enduring reminder that America does have enemies out there. We have countries, we have terrorist groups that would like to attack us and take us down. And so we can never let our guard down. If we want to pass on this amazing gift that we've been given, which is to be American citizens, citizens of the greatest country in the history of the world, we have to defend our freedoms. We ask brave men and women, every generation, to step up and defend us from evil. And today is a reminder of that basic fact. The president will not be in country. He'll eventually get to Alaska, and Alaska's got great patriotic people. They got wonderful men and women serving in the base. I know a couple of people in my neighborhood who are actually in the Coast Guard there, and they talk about how patriotic it is. But it is interesting that the president's comfortable with being in Alaska on a day like this and not downtown New York City and not the Pentagon. And now you're watching the flag drop. And right after it is fully unfurled, you're going to hear the national anthem, Mike. Yeah, we're waiting for the anthem to start. I believe you can hear something down there. We'll try to bring up the sound. We can hear it faintly in the background. We're just having trouble hearing that, but we understand what it means for the people there and obviously for everyone watching at home. Congressman Mike Gallagher, as you talk about enemies, Al-Qaeda is still an enemy, ISIS is still an enemy. We're not in Afghanistan anymore, so we have no idea really what our enemies are up to. The over-horizon capacity does not make people feel good. Also, the fact that we left $4 billion worth of military equipment behind. Yeah, and well, it's the broader signal that our inept surrender to terrorists in Afghanistan sent around the world. And I believe it undermined our entire deterrent posture. I think Vladimir Putin decided to invade Ukraine in part because of the weakness he witnessed on display in Afghanistan. So it's imperative that we not make the same mistakes, particularly as we confront a rising China, a China that under Xi Jinping's dictatorial rule is threatening Taiwan, is threatening war. And a war with China over Taiwan has the potential to make the war in Ukraine, as well as previous world wars, look restrained in comparison. It's why we've brought the Select Committee on China to New York today and tomorrow to examine the financial implications of a war with China over Taiwan.
Bipartisan.
Bipartisan. We're going to go down to ground zero, actually, right after this to have a bipartisan participation in the 9/11 ceremony.
Look, I understand there are tactics and there is diplomacy, and it plays a role because nobody wants war. But with this enemy, they only understand strength. And if you're going to go around and make partnerships between and friendships between South Korea and Japan, laudable. If you're going to go out and say Australia, the Philippines, Japan, India, we got a problem, and it's called China, that's commendable. We got to say, hey, Saudi Arabia and India, start talking to each other. Let's start understanding the real threat out there. I get it. But then when the president's asked about what we're doing with China, this is what he says.
Really what this trip was about, it was less about containing China. I don't want to contain China. We're not looking to hurt China.
Your reaction?
Well, from the start, from when the president campaigned in the last election, he's spent mixed signals at best on China. And what we've seen from his administration in recent months is a full-throated revival of diplomatic and economic engagement with China as a foundation of their foreign policy, despite the fact that engagement as a strategy has failed for 20 years. I think when you're dealing with a Marxist-Leninist regime like that, exactly, they respect strength, and indeed they find weakness or mixed signals provocative. And think about the signal it sends to Wall Street here. And that's my concern, and part of the reason we're doing this trip is that there actually is an emerging consensus in the national security community that China is our greatest geopolitical adversary. But too many people here on Wall Street still think of China as a business partner or a friend. And that has extreme systemic risk for our own financial system.
It's almost as if they're going, I'm just going to get these two governments together because, hey, guys, China goes and meets, loves Elon Musk. You know, they love Jamie Dimon. They feel as though they could talk some sense into our crazy American government, whether it's Trump or Biden or Bush or Obama. But, Congressman, I think it's important to know, and you know this, 60 miles off the coast of Taiwan yesterday, they're doing military exercises to send a message. We know that they hacked into the cabinet secretaries of President Biden. We know they've cut off and buzzed they've cut off our destroyers and buzzed our planes. Why not put that in a speech and say, because of that, we're taking people concerned about your growth and belligerence, and we're forming a union against people that want freedom and peace.
Well, that's the primary concern, is that in order to even sit down at the table with the Chinese Communist Party leadership and get a photo op, we shelved key defensive action that we should have taken months ago, whether it's ending licensing exemptions for Huawei, whether it's finalizing the October 7th export control rule and closing a lot of loopholes surrounding that, whether it's sanctions on CCP officials or basic transparency surrounding the spy balloon incident or the origins of COVID. We shelve all of that because of our fear of provoking the CCP. But the fear itself and our reluctance is itself provocative, because they get more and more aggressive the more we relax the pressure that we need to impose upon them.
One good thing, too, is to heighten relations with Vietnam. I get it. They got rare earth. It's great. But I do worry about Vietnam being so tight with Russia. Are we really going to be sharing secrets with Vietnam, knowing that they're so tight with Russia? Is that a concern of yours?
Well, of course, you know, Vietnam's not a treaty ally, but they are a critical partner going forward. And I do believe that in order to contain or constrain China's worst impulses going forward,
it's worth the risk.
It's worth the risk. Okay. You need a closer relationship with India, Indonesia, Philippines. You got to build this sort of anti-communist coalition.
Even the communists are concerned.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
It's always great to see you doing fantastic work, and a lot of Democrats salute you, too. Great to see you.